And for Kentucky, as you said, Morris with monster numbers in his last 2 games, 19 and 11 against Villanova. Kansas without a senior on its roster. And today's game is brought to you in HDTV by Harris Corporation, world leader in broadcast systems for high-definition television and mobile media.
Jim, they've only met once, as you mentioned, NCAA tournament play, but Kentucky has a big advantage over Kansas over the years in regard to those head-to-head matchups.
Ball tipped around 3 times and then out of bounds. And it's going to go to Kentucky. That one matchup was in New Orleans. Billy, we were there. It was a second-round matchup on this Sunday, in fact, 8 years ago, and they had to go to overtime before Scott Padgett led the Kentucky Wildcats to the win. You would have thought with all the history that somewhere else they would have met in the Final Four or a championship game. Hasn't happened. You don't think so. Morris immediately going to and delivering the goods for the Wildcats.
Well, you can see Tony Smith right away saying, let's take it to the big guy. He has been so outstanding in the last 2 ball games particularly. Great in the loss against Mississippi State in the SEC tournament.
Kansas with its big win over the second largest margin of victory in NCAA tournament history for the Jayhawks.
Thomas with open inside. Kansas reluctant.
Couldn't believe that one dropped. That ball was in the air for a couple of seconds. Comes down for a 3.
It almost seemed like it was a second option as he went in the air to shoot that ball.
Chalmers coming up the game where he hit 8 out of 9 against the Purple Eagles of Niagara.
Yeah, a little different type defender on him in that game, but that was a great jump shot. Morris setting solid screens, a little screen and roll.
And Morris scores the first 2 trips down the floor. Good shot.
He is now 2 for 2 in this ball game. He was 0 for 8 against him as a freshman.
He's going on his 2 attempts from behind the arc. For the Jayhawks, they had back-to-back threes by Mario Chalmers, nullifying the 2 baskets at the other end by Morris of Kansas with an 8-4 lead.
How about Wright going up for that steal? Kentucky players misjudged just how tall and long that young man is.
And there's Bill Self, who's had some history in this building when he was the head coach at Illinois, winning Big Ten tournament title.
Not unusual. We had Lon Kruger, who had good success when he was at Illinois. And then back to Big Ten, and now we have Bill Self in the very next game.
The man who replaced him at Illinois.
Robinson, that's a nice matchup. Robinson, some defender.
Perry hits a 3.
Good step out.
As the foul over the back is called against Julian Wright. Derek Jasper, the freshman, with the board.
Tim Jasper, 6'5", but probably plays closer to 6'7" with those long arms. Hasn't done much offensively. There's Tubby Smith. Outstanding coach. You know, and we have something in common with these 2 guys on this sideline. Tulsa. That's both their head coaches there.
Tubby a coach there for 4 years. And since for 3 years, and a steal by Chalmers, and right back Jasper with the foul.
Chalmers really getting in there on Jasper. Jasper not handling the ball well at all. That's going to take him out of the ball game quickly.
Well, they'll replace him with Jody Meeks, freshman from Georgia, who has 7 straight games scoring in double digits.
And Tubby Smith going right down that bench to talk to Jasper. Bench quickly. Doesn't stand for much.
Sets up the open shot for the 3. And the Jayhawks connected from the outside.
Jim, I don't think you can go back on Con with a double team or even go double down from the outside because Kansas has such good perimeter shooters and they surround you. You go inside, just let them be played one-on-one.
Meeks, so an extra step. minutes of this one.
Probably as much team speed for their size as you're going to see in a college basketball floor in the guys of this Kansas club. Right can fly, rush as well, and obviously the back row is less with speed. Kyle's not even out there yet. He's amazing what he can do with a powerful body of his.
He hasn't touched it many times here early.
Always gives up size when he is matched up.
Morris. Reaching hard, it's a travel call.
Probably a little bit too far out, Jim, for him to try to lose that ball.
In our first break. Which Homer's hitting his first two shots from behind the arc.
For now, we go back to Chicago, where Kansas leads Kentucky by 4.
In the country, period. He said it's better than the Super Bowl. Mike did that. One little thing about a Super Bowl, too. Well, run of games yesterday. Overtime. Today, the highest seed in the tournament to lose so far. Wisconsin going out. The last hour here to UNLV.
Against the 2-3 zone, Kentucky changed it from man-to-man to zone for the first time today. Good pass.
Morris. Second try. Harry there. Puts the putback basket.
There's an NCAA player, isn't he? Terrific NCAA tournament last year. Picking right up here. There's that 2-3 zone. Morris in the middle. Now we know that Kansas has got some shooters, particularly Rusher on the outside. Robinson, Chalmers, and Rush can all have one more shot.
Out of bounds. Going back to Kansas. The two programs, well, two of the top 3 winningest programs. North Carolina, of course, headed to that mix. Talk about appearances, wins, total games. Well, Kentucky holds the record in NCAA tournament play for all of those.
And current streaks as well. Kansas 18 straight NCAA tournaments. Kentucky 16, trailing only Arizona and New Jersey at 23.
Darrell Arthur now, first touch from him. It's also coming in. And a steal forced by Crawford.
2-3 zone is helped out.
Long ball back out to Meeks.
And wisely ran off Morris, running the point guard position. Said, guys, slow down a little bit. Let me get in position.
Kentucky Friday night winning a first-round game for the 16th straight year in the tournament. As Perry's trying to back in, and gets the shot over Chalmers.
He felt the small man behind him, Jim, and was patient enough. Wright normally come over to help out, but he's not on. He's out of the ball game right now. Maybe coming back in. That's going to Jackson get up there.
7 points for Bobby Perry as the Wildcats are in the game.
You can see Kansas is going inside against this zone. Here's the Kansas pass. I'm surprised that Kansas was going inside so much against this zone. Cross-court passing and skip passing, particularly with the great perimeter shooting they have at work.
Talk about perimeter shooting, Barry. They're 4 for 4 from outside. They missed.
Well, they can surround it right now. They can surround it with 3 outstanding shooters.
Doubling up Morris every touch. And this time a foul called on Arthur. You can vote for your Pontiac game-changing performance of each round. And nearly $150,000 of scholarship contributions is on the line. Vote now at ncaasports.com/Pontiac. Morris is on the line for Kentucky to shoot 2.
First team all-conference SEC player. He has really come on strong. He did not play against Kansas when Kentucky was beaten rather handily. Last year he was ineligible at that time. As we mentioned earlier, did play as a freshman and had a very bad ball game.
A woeful 0 for 8 in that game as a freshman against Kansas. One more pending as Darnell Jackson is inserted into the Kansas lineup.
That loss in 06 to Kansas, 73-46. That's the worst loss Tubby Smith's had as a Kentucky coach.
Nice pass. Over the trap. Back outside. Rush. Not this time. There's Smith from out there.
And Kentucky doesn't want to get into this. They're a running team as well. But in this particular game, they'd be smart to keep the pace medium.
And Morris will head back to the line. Oh, he has shot 33 free throws the last 2 games, going back to the Mississippi State SEC game. And coming up, AT&T at the half. Greg and Clark and Seth will get a live look in at other action. Let's announce the 4 finalists for the AT&T Naismith Award, all coming up on AT&T at the half.
Jim, that stat of going to the line 33 times is something you really like out of a big man because it means a number of things. Number one, his teammates are getting the ball. Number two, he's getting himself in position when he catches it to make a quick offensive move before the double team takes place. So, good sign.
He said he was not in the act of shooting, but it's the second foul on Arthur. And Orchute has come in for Kentucky, along with Sheree Thomas. They inbound it with a difficult pass. Bradley was able to field, stepping in. Traffic. Bradley, the three, right down the barrel. No.
It was a quick recovery by Chalmers. Here comes the coverage over by Greg Collins. Back to man goes Kentucky. With Randolph Moore's out of there.
Double up on right. Sets up the field to Thomas. No. With a point play for Kansas on Friday night, the numbers combined by Robinson and Collins. Combined 31 points, 14 assists, no turnovers, and 9 steals. Sheree Thomas, who gave him valuable time off the bench Friday night.
He certainly did, Jim. He was outstanding in that ball game. 7 points, 6 rebounds.
Which way will this go?
Thomas drawing a charge, and that's what I was talking about right there. Played a smart game, good position. Here comes the drive. The commitment was made from so far out. It gave Thomas an opportunity.
They bring Jasper back in for Crawford.
The opportunity to rest Morris here with a score tie. Tubby Smith wanted to keep his big post man fresh, knowing that Kansas actually can go 3 deep at that position.
Getting a little extended break, knowing that the next whistle will be the under 12 timeout. We'll take this possession without Morris, the big man.
Jasper not wanting to pick up his dribble there.
Kentucky, very limited options on this possession. 5 on the shot clock. Bradley fires it up.
Had to rush that shot because Jasper, who was open, didn't want to take the 3.
First step cut off by Sheree Thomas. The defensive player Thomas called for the charge this time. Kentucky holding its ground down low. Chalmers with a steal. Kentucky hanging with the 1 seed at the break here, 11-18. A few weeks earlier had beaten Kansas here in Chicago. Now Morris back in after a breather, and he travels. They beat Kentucky, Indiana, and Louisville, and DePaul, but they lost to UCLA, Memphis, and North Carolina. After a traveling violation on Randolph Morris, Kansas coming back down. And the break, the game tied 14.
I thought that Kentucky may go back to that zone with Morris back in the ball game, but he didn't.
Foul call against Thomas of Kentucky.
Sheree Thomas, his first, his second.
See if Kentucky goes back to the zone. It looks like they're going to stay in the man-to-man. One of the things that Cohen is not a guy that's going to take a lot of shots offensively. So Randolph Morris is not going to have to worry about that. Wanting both guys to kind of clean it up inside. It's really critical. He's going to go into the post and he's going to kick out guys out there to catch and shoot.
Thomas unable to chase it down, back to Kansas.
And when you look out there on the floor right now, Thomas is not looking for that shot. We already saw Jasper pass it up. So you got to go out to Meeks or Crawford if you're Norris. And look at Collins to penetrate against this man-to-man defense.
Meeks will lob it. Nothing there for Crawford.
That was smart for Crawford, just to look to make the catch and bring it back out, hang on to possessions, as opposed to trying to make a spectacular play.
Setting screens down on the baseline. Jasper, he's doubled up. Take it away from him. Then he reaches in, commits a second foul.
And he's going to come out of this ball game. He is kind of overmatched in this ball game early on.
Chalmers comes off the bench for Kansas. The starter with 2 early threes.
But what I really love what Bradley just did there. He realizes that Jasper's having some problems. Rather than just go win the game for him, he would put his arm around him, give him a little talk. Really some class action. Aggressive inside play there. Kentucky, I think, was a little surprised the ball came in there so rapidly.
Bradley whistled for his first. On to the line. The last window of the second round, Billy. We've got 13 teams already reserved for the Sweet 16. We're seeing some interesting developments when you start to break it down by conference, particularly the Big Ten and the ACC.
And the ACC, terrible start. 7 teams in. They have 1 team left out of 7. Big Ten probably came in second from the bottom. The ACC leads the conference at a first weekend.
Well, they had 7 out of the ACC, and that's a foul call against Robinson. And they get 1 survivor, the number 1 seed UNC, Carolina. And then meanwhile, Big Ten, 6 teams in, only 1 survived. That's a 1 seed Ohio State. That's it. So just the top of the conferences able to make it out of the first weekend. So it's foul on Robinson.
Could come back to the ball.
That's Meeks. The 3-pointer.
Just like it gets kicked out. The person who's seeing the pass has to be ready to shoot as Meeks did there. There's points out of the Kentucky bench. Robinson. Meeks right into the floor. I really like Meeks though, Jim. He is a terrific young player. Quick, strong. He's aggressive on the offensive end. He'll look to score.
That's a 2.
Nice pull.
Meeks with a diving attempt. It's going to stay with Kansas. You look at it, UNLV had not won an NCAA tournament game since its win over Seton Hall in the West Regional Final back in '91. They hadn't been in the tournament since 2000, but Ron Kruger takes them there with their win today over Wisconsin.
And Jim, you remember that team in '91? Many people, including myself, thought they had a chance to be called one of the great college basketball teams. Now all of a sudden they lose to Duke. Tom is going back to that day we talked about Morris having such a poor day. That was maybe Khan's best day, particularly as a freshman. He had 7 points, 5 rebounds against Kentucky.
He carried back in. They had a good start here. This time, he rides the ball. Never knew he was there.
This Kansas team can really explode. So much speed.
Chalmers with 8.
And I like what Kentucky's doing there. They're keeping the patient game out here. They don't want this to get into a run-shoot battle.
Meeks. Ball squirts out. Stays with Kentucky. Chalmers comes right in for the steal and the basket.
Well, Kentucky and Kansas have won a combined 9 national championships and been to a combined 25 Final Fours. But you can't get to Final Fours unless you get into the tournament near year after year. And that consistency is what has Kansas and Kentucky right near the top of this list. Consecutive trips to the NCAA tournament. Let's send you back out to Chicago.
Baskets, but it's been tough ever since. Crawford will be going to the line for a pair.
And what Randolph Morris has to recognize is that Wright is going to be coming over on him for that double team on Kahn. So wherever he's coming from, that person should be cutting to the basket. A guy like Perry then can get a little drop-in pass for a layup.
Joe Crawford goes to the line to shoot 2.
Rush. Going for that one, his first. Crawford, with plenty of NCAA tournament experience. This is his 8th career game. He was part of that bunch down in Boston a couple of years ago that lost that double overtime thriller to Michigan State. Came within an eyelash of going to the Final Four.
One man who was discouraged and around Christmas time his freshman year left the team and came back, and it's great to see that he's turned his career around and played solidly for Kentucky. Here we see Kentucky not sure the defense that they're in right now. We've got some playing zone, and Randolph Morris was playing zone. Some of the guys playing man-to-man.
Soft touch.
Meeks was in the man-to-man. Randolph Morris was in his zone that time. A skip pass of the for Kentucky.
Meeks are able to hit from the outside this time. Almost able to lay down the rebound. Ties the game.
Well, that was a 5-on-2 fast break because 3 Kansas players were on the floor. But how about Wright's speed to the basket? I realize he missed the shot, but a terrific move to the basket.
Robinson will launch to 3. They'll get one of their own.
You can see, Jim, those skip passes and cross-court passes that Kansas throws. What makes it so good is that their players are well-schooled to stay behind that three-point line and just wait patiently for the pass.
Now 5 out of 9 as a team from behind the line. Perry with Morris called for the push-off. Trying to crash the boards on Kahn, but he called for it. And while you NCAA fans are feeling all the excitement of the big dance, American business is feeling your excitement too. We'll tell you how tomorrow on the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric. Randolph Morris, that's his first.
One of the things that's tough for Kentucky, you don't want to get into this running game, but yet when you have open shots, even early in a possession, you got to take them. Another charge.
Well, that's going against Kentucky.
Yes, they felt that he had not given enough space for the catch. Watch this right here. Roll to the basket and no space whatsoever.
That's the second on Bradley.
A lot of guts for Bradley to hang in there with Jackson coming in at him at about 260 pounds.
Five minutes to go in what has been a tight first half here in Chicago.
Jackson was open.
Almost led Jackson too much.
Pretty good footwork by Jackson to go out and get that ball.
Jackson has to go outside. There's the charge this time. Drawn by Meeks. That's 3 charges in this first half against Kansas.
Well, Jim, you have to wonder, Robinson, who had that flawless game here against Niagara, had probably no business going in that deep, and I think that's what Bill Self's going to talk to him about right now.
Sherrod Collins, Billy, comes in for him.
Yeah, they have such good perimeter shooting that you don't have to take it all the way to the hoop unless you've got a layup. Kick it back out.
Bill Self takes out Robinson. That was his second foul. And on the back, it's going to go against Jackson.
Kind of a ticky-tack one there. And you know, what you have here is Bill Self hollering, hey, how about down on the other end? I had 3 guys laying on the floor.
So Kentucky's top scorer and rebounder, coming off 19 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks against Villanova Friday night. He'll shoot a 1-on-1.
Jim, we talked about it. You mentioned earlier about this Kansas schedule as well. You know, they lost to Oral Roberts and kind of like sent some shock waves out early in the year. But then they have a win on a neutral floor against Florida. An overtime win, but shows you how quickly this young team regrouped. Not a lot of veterans early in the season there.
If they are, talking of Kansas, going to meet up with Florida again. It would come in Atlanta, but not in the final. It would happen in the semifinal if they both get there. That was some game, 82-80. Kansas win in overtime, led by Julian Wrights, 21 points and 10 rebounds. Not to make excuses, but early in the year, Florida was battling a little mononucleosis that was running through the team. And team result obviously worn down at the top of the year. It's Collins with the jumper.
Now there's the Chicago boy coming back home and hitting a nice one.
First bench points of the game for Kansas. Morris again gets it where he wants it.
He respected Wright's shot blocking ability there a little bit too much.
But they called on Sheree Thomas. Came crashing in, trying to keep the ball alive for Kentucky. So a break in the play as Robinson hits from the outside. With Billy Packer here at the United Center, Jim Nance in this second round matchup, UK and KU.
Jim, there you see second chance points kind of offsetting the 3-point field goal shooting of Kansas. Kansas really can, there's a father, son who getting all kinds of congratulations. Lon Kruger had a great game plan for this game today, and I thought that when he ran that clear out play on Bohannon, that's where coaches stay up late at night. They look at the film, and all of a sudden they see where there's an opportunity to take advantage of a situation. And I'm not going to say that won the game for him, but it certainly was a critical possession.
Pretty resilient, though, the running Rebels. They were up 12 at halftime, then fell behind by 5 with 8 minutes to play, only to turn it right back around again and win the game.
Jim, you kind of jumped on me when I said ball game on that jump shot by Terry there, huh?
Yeah, I thought it maybe was a little quick,
a little premature.
Well, Kentucky and Kansas at 30-25, Jayhawks with their largest lead of this game. As Kentucky has brought in Stevenson, Perry Stevenson, the freshman, lean freshman out of Lafayette, Louisiana, shot blocker. Here he is touching the ball up high.
Oh, no, that's not the play he wants to make. And Tubby Smith just trying to steal some minutes with Stevenson, not wanting him to try to make plays.
He'll steal some minutes, not create steals for Kansas.
Exactly.
And he's fighting for the rebound here. Bounces out to Crawford.
No place to go. Stevenson almost ran into Crawford and turned another turnover. Not the shot they want.
Underneath, it's Meeks. And he comes in from out of bounds. It'll go back to Kansas.
Tubby very upset with that. 3 minutes to go. You got 35 on the clock. Hang on to the ball. Keep possessions. Don't allow this Kansas team to get running. That's Kentucky's strategy.
Sloppy stretch here for the Wildcats. And the Jayhawks trying to take advantage. Last touch by Perry.
There was a case where Rush didn't create the passing lane that Chambers wanted. Allowed Perry to get a hand on the ball.
Collins. Big burst, and that's a goaltend. What a first step.
Built low to the ground, but he can explode to the basket. He's had some sensational games. That game against Missouri, he actually just took over and controlled like he was the veteran on this team. Can really explode and so powerful.
Little 9-2 explosion for Kentucky as well. Powered by their defense.
Yeah, you look for Crawford now to have to kind of set this pace a little bit better than that jumper he took before.
Chalmers almost was able to work his way around and make the steal. 3-point shooting, 5 for 9 as a team in this half.
And they came right out shooting. There was that skip past the rush. Chalmers, Robinson, they all line it up, square up. Can really shoot.
Yeah, 2 by Chalmers, 2 by Rush, 1 by Robinson. There's Meeks. He got one. That's his second of the game. Much needed for Kentucky.
And Kansas almost shooting. They're shooting 39% from three-point line.
Morris on a switch-up almost was able to get a hand on the ball. Rush driving past Crawford. And that's going to be against Perry. His first.
Because of the quickness by Rush, Perry just couldn't get set up.
Most tournament wins in history. Kentucky at 98 after its victory over Villanova.
Jim, you see those 5 teams right there. Take UCLA out. The other 4 are the 4 winningest programs in college basketball. And what is really interesting there, only one of them has a winning record against the other 3. That's North Carolina. You have Kansas has a losing record against all of the other 3. North Carolina has a winning record against all 3. They're the only one to do that.
Roderick Stewart, number 5, coming in for Kansas. And as you said, the all-time matchup, even though this is only the second NCAA matchup with these two, all-time, Kentucky's advantage over Kansas is sizable.
Yes, it is. It really is.
So Jasper back for Kentucky. They face some pressure here in the backcourt with 2 minutes to go in the half.
Kentucky really playing with 3 guards now, and Perry. Great drive.
Jackson coming in for the rebound. Stewart on the baseline. And Kansas gets away from a couple of near turnovers. Back, misfires. Started up again.
I have a feeling Kansas a little fresher right now than Kentucky. How about Jim? They're just beating them the ball.
But just with this possession alone, they've just extended it a number of times.
Yeah, all of a sudden, you just saw Kentucky now getting tired. There's a minute to go in this half. Tubby Smith just trying to... When he brought Stevenson in, he's got Jasper back in there just trying to keep some breath there. Morris got to be a little bit tired.
And just picked up his second foul, so he's going to take him out.
Yep.
They're bringing Orbjut so that Morris doesn't pick up a third here with the final minute of the first half.
And Meeks has been out there for a long time. But all of a sudden, you just sense there's a spurt there of energy that Kansas had that Kentucky didn't possess.
Back for Jackson. I think Kansas is one of those teams that's always going to look fresh.
I agree, Jim. And the reason for it is they can substitute front court or back court and keep good players on the floor at all times. I mean, you're not going at you with a dozen people, but they've got front court and back court subs.
Nice shot by Bobby Perry. And a timeout called from the Kansas bench. 35-30 Jayhawks.
To come in for a specific reason. In the case of Kentucky, they are not as blessed with the depth of talent as is Kansas. But what Tubby Smith is doing with his bench and using Orbjut and using Stevenson to try to steal some minutes. Remember the game against Utah in the NCAA tournament when when Morris was having all kinds of problems and Tubby trying to steal some minutes, Orbzut and Sha'Carri Aline. Remember that?
Sha'Carri Aline.
Sure. Yep. They came in and gave more than minutes. They gave good production, helped Kentucky win the game. But what you're really trying to do, steal some minutes here, don't make any mistakes, and keep Morris out of further foul trouble and fresh.
Well, that Kentucky defense makes a play here, forces the 5 count and the turnover back.
That won't make Bill Self angry going into halftime with him.
Particularly since he had just called a timeout to set something up. Meeks puts up the floater, and Jasper over the back for Kentucky.
Jasper's having a nightmare of a game here with just mental mistakes. You don't want to commit the foul there.
And that's the 10th on Kentucky, so it'll be a double bonus. That's the 3rd call against Jasper.
Right, and there's a situation. You put the team on the foul line for 2. You had no chance whatsoever to get the rebound.
Chalmers at the line. He opened this game with a real hot hand. He hit 2 threes in the game's opening minutes. He's got another one coming from the free throw line. The biggest lead of the game, 7 for Kansas. And you can match it right here.
Jim, talking about Jasper, remember the great game he had against UCLA early in the year. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. But he is having his hands full right here against this quick Kansas backcourt.
Timeout called from the Kentucky side. Set something up with 34 seconds to go in the first half here in Chicago.
ESPN brings the NCAA tournament to the world with full court coverage that you've come to expect. Round 1, Round 2, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, the championship game, the NCAA tournament on ESPN.
We mentioned they played only once in the tournament. It was back in '99. Second round game in New Orleans. That's right. Roy Williams over on the Kansas bench. In the regulation, Scott Padgett sends it to overtime. Back and forth they go in the OT. But in the end, Padgett with a career-high 29 leading Kentucky on to the regional in St. Louis that year.
Michigan State got them, right?
That's right.
Yep.
Ran into a guy named Mateen Cleaves.
Yes, they did.
But that championship eventually won by Connecticut. Crawford puts it up too strong. They've got a player breaking early. Porter comes in, tries to make the play, and Orbzut knocks it out of the hands of Rush.
I talk about Tubby Smith going to his bench. He has an unbelievable ability. Porter is the guy that blocked that pass that Wright would have had. He had just come in the game. Probably he's going to get the chance to play for 3 seconds. Let's see if he comes out.
They're going to bring in Stevenson. Well, Porter looking like a defensive back there, and he had actually aspirations of playing defensive back at USC. Recruited there by Pete Carroll, but goes Kentucky basketball instead. Kentucky's gone 10 players deep, 10 seconds to go in the half. Collins splits. Ball kicked on the floor. Shot, no. Timeout, no. That's it. Halftime. Kentucky looked like they wanted to possibly set one more play up, but that's it. 36-30 Kansas at halftime. We'll go back.
Well, Kansas and Kentucky, they're done with halftime as we move along to the start of the second half. Brandon Rush, the star perimeter player for Kansas. Well, he hasn't gotten much. He's only taken 5 shots, made a couple for a total of 7 points, but his Jayhawks have the 7-point lead starting the second half. Let's get back to it in Chicago.
This game was tied at 23 with 6 minutes to go in the half. Can Kansas close on a 13-7 stretch? Looking for more from Rush, and add that one to the shot chart.
Boy, that was some step back on the reverse pass. Crawford was on him, but he just stepped back about 2 feet further, and he's got incredible range on the shot. Jim, the key in the second half is for Kentucky, no matter what the score is, to try to stay patient and keep this a game that stays down below 70. And if you're Kansas, you want to get pushing this game up, get Kentucky to panic a little bit, and then just blow it open.
One official was about to call a walk. Overruled on the other side by Donnie Gray. The foul is called on Kahn.
And now remember, Morris has 2 fouls. He has to really get about 8 or 10 minutes in before he picks up that number 3, because Tubby Smith doesn't want to have to sit him down early in his second half.
First on Kahn. Double up on Bradley. Perry. He is an NCAA tournament performer, isn't he?
Absolutely. You see that? He was ready to shoot on the catch.
That was influenced by Morris big time.
Nice job by Perry.
Kansas now trying to get back in time to shut down Perry, but they don't get there. He hits back-to-back threes to tighten this to 3.
Veteran player, a young man from Durham, North Carolina.
Chalmers with the assist.
Beautiful touch by Chalmers.
I know what you were thinking that last time down the floor by Kentucky, maybe a little faster pace than they wanted.
Well, you know, you wouldn't mind if it was Perry. I think that the guy is a money player here in the NCAA tournament. Had a great NCAA tournament last year. And looks like he would really want the ball.
And had his best performance of the season this year on senior day. Oh, that would have been 3 in a row.
Morris down. Here come the numbers.
Here come the Jayhawks. Meeks.
Got Morris wide open. Couldn't get the handle on the ball.
Crawford with a 3. Tipped out. Morris, big hands. Going to the line for 2. Chalmers with the perfect pass.
It really was. Not only was it right on target, Jim, but it had just the right kind of speed to it and the right kind of loft to make it easy to finish. Again, this pace, though, a little bit quick. Kentucky finds themselves down 5 and feeling like you get in a run-shoot game with Kansas. That's not where they want to be. As said earlier, Kansas probably has at all positions as good a team speed, if not better, than anybody in the country. We've seen all the number 1s play. They've got more speed, team speed than Ohio State. They've got more team speed than Florida.
Yeah, I agree with all this.
And in North Carolina. They can really run.
They play so long also. Tremendous court coverage out of that team. Morris hits 2. Well, so many guys that seem interchangeable with Rush, Chalmers, Wright. Guys that come in off the bench. He's going up for the dunk.
And Kentucky better hope this is on Crawford and not on Morris.
It's going to be on Morris.
As I said, he does not want to pick up a foul in the first 8-10 minutes of this half.
Midwest Regional in St. Louis is all set with Florida and Butler, Oregon, and UNLV. They will be there for action next Friday and Sunday in St. Louis. That is the 3rd on Morris. And instantly they bring in player Sheree Thomas.
That really hurt Kentucky for Morris to pick up that foul so quickly in this half. And Tubby probably thinking back, say, well, maybe I should have gone zone, do something, just protect him. If he was going to sit in this second half, you want him to be sitting because you're tired and close.
Kahn gets 1 of 2. Certainly changes the way Kentucky plays it at this end.
Well, sure, because now you don't have an inside presence to score.
Good screen by Perry. Bradley missing the open 3.
Here comes that speed.
Yeah, Chalmers. Back to him.
It's a very dangerous point in this game right now for Kentucky.
Wright, baseliner. Julian Wright. Got 8 on the game.
And if you're Bradley, try to keep this game slowed down, let the clock go by, stay as close as you can to Kansas. Because Kansas is ready now, I think, to explode here.
Meeks. He had pressure.
That's not the shot.
With Chalmers closing in on him, and he felt the presence. And the ball, in fact, is ruled that it was touched by Chalmers on the shot. I think that's the good call. Just looking at the rotation on it, you could tell the ball had been deflected, or the lack of rotation.
We have got 14 seconds, still plenty of time.
Perry. Didn't ask for a better look than that. Another lob.
Oh, how about that one? That ball was above the basket by about a foot, and Wright almost got his hands on it anyway.
Right shove by Perry.
Just like his namesake, Brandon Wright from University of North Carolina, you can throw that ball up there above the square, and either one of those Wrights can make it right by catching it and putting it in.
Turn it wrong into it right, is what you're saying. Yep. Here's Rush. Oh, he has got some stroke, and it's so effortless.
Timeout, Kentucky here. They have got to get themselves settled down.
They're not going to take a timeout, Billy. They've tied their biggest lead of the game at 9. You felt this run coming.
Yep.
All happening after Morris went out with 3. Meeks misses the floater. And here come the Jayhawks running again.
Terrific pull-up.
You
know what he was going to do.
Yeah.
He was ready to unload from 30 feet on that one.
Rush has one of those strokes that looks as though as Chalmers drives in, dipsy-do, put back right. Rush looks like from 30 feet it would be as effortless as it is from 20. And now they've got a double-digit lead for the first time today. Now the timeout, an 8-0 run. The Jayhawks with a big start to the second half.
Still plenty of time left in this ball game. But for now, we'll get you back to Kansas and Kentucky.
Trouble, and you know, if there's another run here by Kansas, Tubby Smith may have to say, I've got to put him out there and just take my chances, slow this thing down somehow.
Thomas. Yeah, easy look. And back. He follows his own miss.
Solid play out of Thomas in both games. Nice little pick and roll.
Right. Wow, what body control.
Double pumper. That was kind of like that Patrick Ewing play yesterday in the Georgetown game. Sensational, yes.
What a beauty that was.
I'm sure his father liked that one.
That dunk that kind of iced it. Kentucky just ended a 3.5-minute drought, field goal drought. Kansas is on a 10-2 run looking for more. Here it is, Rush from the wing. Yet another 3.
Great team play there. Chalmers probably could have taken a bad 3. Instead goes cross-court to Rush, who buries another cross-court pass against the zone in the first half. They did the same thing.
Ray Thomas playing very confident basketball.
And look what Tubby Smith is going to do. He's going to bring Randolph Morris back in here and say, hey, look, if I don't stop him now, forget about stopping him at the 10-minute mark.
Rush has 9 points in this half, 16 on the game. That's a push off on Thomas. Not a turnover. Foul against Kentucky as Morris will be returning out of the break. Arthur will also be checking in for the Jayhawks. They're in a rush to get to San Jose.
That could hurt. We'll keep you in touch with that one. But for now, back to our featured game. Kansas up big over Kentucky.
Since 1841 was on the clock in the first half. Made some free throws, but no field goals.
The other thing, I love the decision-making by the Kansas guards. You know, they have decent shots, but they don't take them. They hold it up to get the real high-percentage play.
Lob over the top, and that's going right out of bounds to Kentucky.
Not a good angle for that lob.
Bobby Perry back in, and Sharon Collins for Kansas. CBS Sportsline is your destination for complete tournament coverage, real-time scoring, video highlights, expert analysis of every game. It awaits your arrival at CBSSportsline.com.
You know something's interesting too. Kansas with all this speed and the length that we've seen. I wonder why they don't press full court more in a situation, because boy, could they come after you with the depth they have.
And Arthur too late to get to the spot. That's his 3rd. Terrell Arthur has not had as easy a go of it as We've seen it other times this season. The freshman from Dallas. And they're going to bring back in Darnell Jackson, junior from Oklahoma City.
But look at the revolving of this bench. Bill Self doing it beautifully. He's got the position players that he can put in the front court or the back court, not drop off at all.
Comes in for Wright, not Arthur.
Well, things getting pretty tight down in New Orleans. Memphis has a 2-point lead, and Nevada has the basketball. Let's get back down to New Orleans. Vern Lundquist, Bill Raftery.
And they clear the traffic. Good move. He's got the ability to... Wow.
Traveled. Wow. Where? At the 8:02 mark, the leading scorer for Memphis, Christopher Douglas Roberts, came down having sustained the ankle injury, taken into the locker room. 5:20 to go.
And he was writhing in pain. They had to lift him in. They wouldn't let him put his foot down.
Andre Allen, number 15. First time these two teams have ever met. Winner gets Texas A&M in San Antonio. Another turnover. Here's Sessions. Saves it with no shot. Fazekas in the lane. No.
And over the top for Fazekas. So often when you miss it. Number 4, I believe. That could be the limit, huh?
Foul is on Kemp, not Fazekas.
Wow. He's the one that missed it and went forward. They're very fortunate.
Fazekas fouled out twice this year, once against Gonzaga, and then in overtime against Creighton the other night. That was a 3:06 play. And they came back with Marcellus Kemp having a huge game in overtime, 9 points to win that. Now here's Antonio Anderson shooting one more. They have been outstanding at the line in this ballgame. A team that over the course of 33 games coming into the tournament shot 61%, 324th in the country. They're 20 of 24 this afternoon.
Kansas still with a fairly comfortable lead. Danny Manning, remember he led Kansas to their last national championship back in '88. On the sidelines there as Kansas has a 13-point advantage over Kentucky because for the moment there's some comfort in that one. We're going to keep you in touch with what's happening. Nevada and Memphis down in New Orleans. Vern Lundquist and Bill Raftery. This one's getting tight with 5 minutes left.
The Western Athletic Conference. Fazekas. Oh, he had to use the timeout.
Pretty good coverage.
Yeah.
You break too soon or too late. Don't use the proper cut. You're going to end up with the
Nevada couldn't inbounds. They're going to burn a timeout. So with a stoppage there in that South region, we'll send you back to Chicago where Kentucky and Kansas battle it out midway through the second half.
Still on the floor.
Nice
and
play.
Morris able to bat it down.
It's good anticipation by Morris.
Really have to be careful about driving in, getting called for a charge and fouling out. That's a tough pass. Chalmers too quick to make that kind of pass.
Will Collins take it to the hoop? No.
Nope. Kick it out to Chalmers for a three.
And what Kansas would like is then Bradley to get it and run right down the court, but he wisely pulls things back out. But the clock is going to work against Kentucky here as well.
And again, Morris will head to the line. And Arthur is called for yet another one. That's his fourth. This is the streak continues. 16th straight year in the tournament for Kentucky, and every one of these years they've won a first-round game.
And Lute Olson there at 23 ties Dean Smith. 23 straight NCAA tournaments. Arizona goes out, unfortunately, first round this year. That's a team, Jim, that we saw early, and I saw them often. I really thought that with the veterans they had, they might be able to make a run, but they really never got it going.
One of the few from the Pac-10 that has not performed well this opening week of the tournament.
The Pac-10 finds themselves in really great shape. UCLA advances, Oregon advances. Looks like Southern Cal will as well. That would give them 3 teams in with a record of 6-3 for the first weekend. Pretty solid.
Bradley, you saw, went to the bench with the 4. Meeks comes in along with Jasper.
Grabbed his entire...
Nevada and Memphis with just over 4 minutes to play. It's a 4-point game. Let's get you back to New Orleans.
Body to carve property. Oh my goodness, if he comes into the neighborhood, just give him the bill of sale. This is the only way you're going to stop him. He'll take you up.
Wow. And Dorsey's at the line where this Memphis team has hit 20 of 24 today.
This is the real test.
Yes, it is. Now you know
Hallelujah.
it's your day. Yes.
Jambalaya. You big fella. And that stroke looked pure.
One more. Now that looked more like what they've seen all year.
Look at this. Saved. And to someone.
Anderson saved it.
No panic. Just under control right to his backcourt mate, Allen.
The little things.
Now, it looks like they're pulling the plug a little. I think they got to keep going. That's sort of their nature.
Allen off the dribble.
There he is. Wow. A crooked arm left. He had time to even get it off. That's fallen asleep defensively. I think Nevada wants a timeout. Let's see. No, they're going to play.
Foul called on Memphis.
I think Dorsey.
The foul is on Dozier. That's his fourth. Time called.
Memphis holding on to a 7-point advantage with just under 3.5 minutes to play. Let's return you to the middle of the second half. Kansas and Kentucky. That out at the United Center in Chicago. Jim Nance and Billy Packer on the call.
10 minutes left to try to save the season if you're Kentucky. Trying to spring a big upset.
See how low Collins gets to the floor, as powerful as he is, Jim. There's no way you're going to take that ball away from him on the dribble. In the dribble drive, particularly.
5 on the shot clock. Right. Dishes second in time for Jackson.
Just a great crossover dribble by the big man.
Julian Wright feeding Jackson with just a split second to go on the shot clock. Mix. And here comes Kansas. This is their game here.
Yes, it is. And as I said, it's very difficult for Kentucky to come out and try to press this club.
Got their largest lead now of the game. It's up to 15.
If you're Kentucky, keep going to Morris down in low. Try to play half court at a time. You're not going to run with them.
And that's last touched by Robinson.
How many times tonight, Jim, have Robinson and Chalmers been able to reach in and go for the steal? They're really good at it.
Chalmers is coming in for Rush. That's the third foul, by the way. They call the foul on Robinson. His third.
Chalmers on the year has 86 steals. Robinson has 65 steals. As a team, they have 317 steals. All that quickness.
Jackson goes out. He had a big basket there to beat the shot clock. And Sasha Khan comes back in. So Meeks, he's one of these kids, though, at Kentucky who seems to be playing well beyond his freshman year. He'll shoot one more.
Yeah, you can mark this young man down for some stardom, I think. I think he'll be one of the top players in the SEC before he gets out of there. He's got a good-looking shot. Terrific athlete and loves to play.
Got them both as Crawford comes in for him. We've also checked in Stevenson, the 6'9" freshman, who's trying to defend this inbounds pass. Looking for any way to try to get back into this game.
Morris back. Robinson felt him there and knew that he didn't have the breakaway.
Rejected by Morris with his 3 fouls, again going after the ball.
Jim, what I really liked about Morris there was the footwork that he had to stay up with Collins, who explodes to the basket.
13 turnovers for
A little more bonus coverage for you. 3 minutes to play down in New Orleans. Memphis trying to hold on to that 7-point lead. Vern Lundquist and Bill Raftery will take you through.
Don't wait. Here they are.
It's 12. Yep. Anderson, Hunt, he'll take the three. Oh, goodness. Oof. You suppose he had the green light on that?
Well, look at Cal on the bench. He just banged his head. I'd say no.
That would be my guess.
But how do you change? Think about it. It's okay. In the middle of the game, you got to think coming down the stretch.
2:40 remaining.
Should go through Fazekas at some point. They got a timeout. They didn't like the play Mark Fox was setting. They didn't do it right.
So time called by Nevada. They're down by 7.
Texas just a little too young. And now looking at the bonus coverage of Nevada and Memphis. The Memphis team now pushing the lead back up to 10 points with just about a minute and a half to play. Chris Douglas Roberts, who went down with the ankle sprain, Chevrolet player of the game, 16 points and has not returned. And Nick Fazekas has managed 20, but it hasn't been nearly enough for Nevada. Trying to make something happen in transition. Session missing on the drive and then fouling Dorsey very quickly. This will be a free throw contest. So we'll send you back out to Nevada and Memphis for the finish.
His inability to make free throws at 46%. Pretty good move.
And so the season will come to a close for the Wolfpack of Nevada. Losers to Utah State by identical scores, 79-77, within an 8-day span. They're going to wind up the year 29-5. Here's Dorsey. Ohio State, Tennessee, a 1 versus a 5. Memphis against Texas A&M, 3 versus a 2. Aggies not that far from College Station. It's kind of like Louisville playing Lexington.
Exactly, very similar. Look at this touch on the big fella. Now look at the turnover. Not that it was as meaningful as it would have been a minute or two ago, but falling apart just a little bit. And Kemp with number 5.
Marcellus Kemp heads right to the bench. Selman from Seattle, Bill. 18 points and 6 rebounds. And the Tigers are going to visit the Alamo.
Well, this is a very tough team to match up against because of their ability with the dribble. You know what's coming, but you can't stop it.
Hunt, one more. Nick Fazekas, final game for the Wolfpack of Nevada. He's got this. That's the rim. Foul. Lindale Burleson.
And they had a breakout. Not a bad play by him.
Well, looks like Memphis is going to be safely on to the Sweet 16 and Nevada season about to come to an end. Let's return you to our feature game here with Kansas and Kentucky. A comfortable for the moment Kansas lead with Kentucky on the free throw line. And we're going to send you back out to the United Center in Chicago with Jim Nance and Billy Packer.
There's no foul on that play at all.
Goes in the books as his 4th foul. And Jackson will replace him.
I'll tell you what, though, he's running off the floor smiling and happy because he knows he got a clean block there. The official that called it was really out of position.
Here he misses them both.
Jim, you were mentioning working for Larry Brown. Isn't it amazing the Carolina and Kansas connection? Larry Brown coached them to a national championship. Dean Smith played at Kansas, coaches North Carolina. Roy Williams coached at Kansas. Now he's at North Carolina. It's just kind of amazing.
All the cross-pollination as Rush, as he's been doing all game long. So smoothly connecting from behind the arc. It's now 19 for the game. 12 in the half. He's actually hit 6 3-pointers in the game. 6 out of 7 for Rush.
And here's the thing about it, Jim. The way they move the ball with their skip passing, their ability to go inside out, Rush gets so many good looks. And at 6'7", he's got the height as well. Even when you try to close him out by rushing at him, he still can get the shot off.
6 threes, a career high for Brandon Rush. Bradley is back in with 4 fouls. Oh, and that's a hard foul on Randolph Morris called against Jackson. 4 on Jackson. Another team moving on to the Sweet 16. That would be Memphis.
Well, that's some matchup there, Texas A&M, Memphis.
I like the Ohio State-Tennessee matchup, too.
Tennessee did a great job against Ohio State. Last-second shots, all that beat Tennessee when they faced them earlier in this year. That's a strong region right there.
Ohio State fortunate to survive yesterday.
They sure were.
What a shot by Ron Lewis.
And Mike Conley again showing what he can do with or without Oden. The young man is a terrific guard.
That one rolls around and in.
And Jim, when you get back to that game, how many times we see teams not wanting to foul when they got the 3-point lead, particularly when they're playing against a superior opponent.
I was watching it with you, and you were saying they've got a foul here. Look at the top.
There's that same play we talked about before. Just throw it up above the square. Wright can go get it.
Chalmers, the one setting it up. Kansas is pulling away. Morris creates more action underneath. He's shooting his 13th and 14th free throws. This is the second time these two have teamed up on the alley-oop in this half.
Boy, he can just go get it as a guard. All you need to know is say, I'm going to get it as high up in the air, as softly as I can, because there's no height. He can't finish it off.
Kansas has dictated this entire way in the second half.
Jimmy, we're talking about the connection between North Carolina and Kansas with all the basketball history there. The history of Kansas basketball started with a guy right here in Chicago. Amos Alonzo Stagg, the great football coach at the University of Chicago, had done some schoolwork at Springfield College and said to Naismith, why don't you come out to Kansas and start a basketball program, which Naismith did. He was their first coach and the only one ever to have a losing record.
Right. Got it started.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch at times when Kansas has it in gear.
Seems to be under control for the moment. Let's get you back out to Chicago, our feature game. Kansas trying to finish off Kentucky. Here's Jim Nance and Billy Packer.
What was flattery? Simon Cowell featured tonight on 60 Minutes. As they double up Collins and
Timeout
call by the Jayhawks. 5:26 to go. Up 15.
Well, the Nevada-Memphis game is now gone final. Memphis winning this one pretty comfortably in the end. 78-62 the final score. So John Calipari's Memphis team has moved on into the Sweet 16. The number 2 seed getting on through there. Who will be next? There's only a couple more spots left to be claimed, and Kansas very much with the upper hand on Kentucky right now. We'll send you back to Chicago.
Southern Cal. There's Wright with a good passing ability of his.
Well, he says, you know, you've set me up with a couple of alley-oops, a couple of lobs. Let me get you a 3 there, Mario Chalmers.
And when you've got a big man that can pass like that, think of all the great angles he has with his eyes to see people cross court. That man is a fine player. They've got a lot of...
And a foul, Crawford guarding too closely.
There is no question, really from the start of this ball game, who had the superior talent.
You take a look, Billy, here at the Midwest. You got the 1 and the 3. The 2 was knocked out on this floor earlier today. In fact, it appears that the top 8 seeds of the tournament overall, only one's going to be missing the second week, and that's Wisconsin.
Well, and when you look at that Butler team going against Florida, you'd say, well, they're just going to be overwhelmed. But I don't think I've seen a team in a long time that knows how to space on the floor. They know how to go ahead to get the ball inside, keep the pace of the game where they'd like to have it, then kick out for threes. They really know how to surround you. So that'll be interesting to see if they can keep the pace, a Butler pace, instead of a Florida pace.
And you know, I know it's a long time ago, but you think what they did at the start of this season,
right?
They're not going to be intimidated by anyone. They went right through the NIT, preseason NIT, against some monster programs. And they won it. Bradley, that one kicked out by Arthur. What a rejection. Bradley hits the three. That's his first made shot from the floor.
Kentucky players really showing some heart out here.
Crawford knocks it out, staying with Kansas.
And the SEC also having a terrific tournament, Jim. They've 5 teams. They've got Vandy alive. They've got Tennessee alive. They have Florida alive. They're going to lose Kentucky here. So Kentucky and Arkansas will be out of there.
You know, you go back to recent history, Billy, and you start to say, you know, the SEC maybe has played better than any other conference in the tournament. Last year they got 2 into the Final Four with, of course, LSU and the eventual champion Florida.
Right, they had 6 bids and they were 13-5. Overall, since they've been really bracketing these teams, the Atlantic Coast Conference had the best overall record, but the SEC closing in on them.
And the West Regional in San Jose, a Thursday-Saturday site. Ben Howland, will that be special? Going against Pittsburgh and Dixon. Southern Illinois, and they were properly seeded, it appears, as a 4, and they'll be facing Kansas out in San Jose, barring any 4-minute miracle here.
Well, we saw yesterday Thad Matta at Ohio State coaching against some kids that he recruited in a program that he was so proud of at Xavier. Now you'll have Ben Howland, who did such an incredible job getting Pitt as one of the premier programs in the East, and doing the same thing when he went out to UCLA to revive that program.
In fact, look at that West bracket, Billy. You know what it has? A 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. That so seldom happens.
Well, remember this. Last year at the Final Four, we did not have a number 1 that made it to the Final Four. And we did not have a consensus All-American play in the Final Four last year. So, looks like there's some chances that could be changed. Remember the last time that we had 3 teams, 3 number 1s in the Final Four, the only one that wasn't a number 1 that was there was Kansas, and they were a number 2.
It was 93 in New Orleans.
Yep.
The 3 1s in Kansas. Bradley feeds Morris, who put it on the floor, and he was able to get free for the basket.
Pretty good jump stop before he put that ball on the floor.
No quit here. 13 is the margin.
If you play for Tubby Smith, you're not going to be a quitting ball player and stay on the squad.
It's a 7-0 run by the Wildcats.
Bill Self just wanting to use some clock here.
Well, there was some magical Saturday ball games, the 8 yesterday. I've never seen a day like that. Collins is left alone and hits the shot in the lane.
It's a little bit of the old-time 4 corners there with Collins.
Tries to make the split and travels instead. Got another break in the action with 2:52 left.
On here on ESPN, we'll send you back out to Chicago for the final 2+.
They have, when you get them into this half-court set, they have this ability to break anything down, penetrate when they have to, when they want to.
Yeah, well, you've got 2 excellent guards on the floor right now, and they can put 3 out there at the same time. You've got Rush that can penetrate. You've got Wright, who's an excellent passer for a big man. So really difficult to stop. And there's Collins.
Loose ball goes to Arthur on the line. That's Morris with his 4th foul.
And they have you spread out. And Arthur, a pretty good finisher. Whether you have Arthur, Jackson, Kahn, no matter who you have inside, they can do a job. Rush kept that ball alive.
Arthur will shoot 1. Kansas on its way to its 13th straight win.
And Jim, you know, we were talking about that 93 Final Four. Kentucky obviously is there as the #1 seed. That was Rick Pitino's club that just demolished everybody in their way to get to the Final Four. Probably playing better going into that Final Four than anybody in the country.
Jamal McGlure.
Yeah, they got beat by the Fab Five Michigan club.
Perry hits a three. Kentucky takes a quick timeout. 2:06 left. Faint hopes, though, for the Wildcats. Our Chevy players of the game, Bobby Perry with 18 points, closing out his career here in Chicago. Brandon Rush, career high 6 threes made in this one. Our Chevrolet players of the game.
Never took a bad shot in this ball game. Just was patient. He'd hang out there, and all of a sudden it would be the skip pass, and he'd be wide open for the shot. Look at that passing by Wright. He's a terrific passer for a big guy. Sees the floor well.
And that's a reach in on Crawford. Well, you think about Kansas coming here with people still whispering about what had happened to this bunch the last 2 years in the tournament, and we are advancing them in the bracket. And there you see it. That whole West bracket holding up with the top 4 seeds moving on to the Sweet 16.
Well, we talked about coaches that can win at multiple places, and of course you've got a situation with Bill Self. He falls right in that same category. Tremendous job at Kansas. And another interesting thing, 128 at Kansas. Roy Williams leaves Kansas, 129 at North Carolina. Isn't that amazing?
To reach their 100th career win.
Right.
Yep.
To get their 100th win, one
at a school
loses 28.
It took Self
29.
It took Self here at Kansas 128, which tied him with Fog Allen, by the way, but was one behind the quickness with which Ted Owens and Larry Brown reached 100 at Kansas.
Ted Owens taking a Kansas team to a Final Four as well. They have some tradition at Kansas.
You talk about Self.
That's Kentucky.
Yep.
It's kind of amazing when you work with two of these programs that have been so great in the history of college basketball.
Bradley wraparound pass almost picked. Crawford, long range three.
Bradley's still fighting. All these Kentucky kids are still fighting as if they're right in this game.
They take a timeout. 1:32 to go. And then Kansas will find the way to San Jose and the West Regional.
So USC trying to keep their distance down in the final 3 minutes of that one and book their spot in the Sweet 16. We'll go back now to the United Center in Chicago for the final minute and a half. Kansas and Kentucky.
A gifted bunch this year. Will make a great run for 2 more wins to get to Atlanta. That's Bobby Perry hitting another 3.
Really happy for Bobby Perry. He had, as I said, an outstanding NCAA tournament last year and having a great game to close out his career tonight.
21 points for Perry. Kansas really never in danger here. Did you ever feel that at all?
No, I just think that after watching the other day, they just have too many weapons for Kentucky. And whether they were playing a 1 game and done or whether this had been a series, I don't think it'd make any difference. I think Kansas, the superior team.
6-point lead at halftime. Kentucky cut the deficit to 41-38 early in the second half, as Perry hit a couple of outside shots. But then Morris picked up his 3rd foul. Kansas went on a 13-2 run when Morris was out and never looked back. They've kept the lead in double digits for the final 15 minutes of the game.
And Jim, I think that everybody across the country felt that the #1s this year might have separated themselves from, let's say, and the #1s and #2s separated themselves from the rest of the country. But we saw yesterday, particularly in that Ohio State game, that might not have been completely true. But no question right here, Kansas showing they belong in that 1 line, and it's going to take some team to beat them.
Meeks hits the short shot. Timeout called by Rush. No one open. Yeah, they were the last. Rated the last of the #1 seeds, but boy, do they look strong after the first weekend.
Look at the West Regional. Not final yet. Kansas and Kentucky still battling it out with a little bit to play there. North Carolina awaits the winner of the USC and Texas game. Under a minute to play now. Out at the United Center in Chicago. Lead is 13, and the Wildcats of Kentucky haven't given up yet. I'll send you back out to Jim Nance and Billy Packer.
Only 47 seconds to go.
Meeks.
Wright again just reaches out with those long arms and grabs that ball.
Oh, yeah, you're right, though. Let's, where do you start it? Which one takes out the starters first?
Well, I think it's a neat thing for coaches to put kids, particularly if you're going to be in a losing game, who've never played in an NCAA tournament game, get them on the floor so they can say they were there. And obviously, the outcome of this game was established when Randolph Morris fouled out and had to sit down, and Kansas got that big run right here at the beginning of the second half.
More for Julian Wright. Kansas got everyone into the game on Friday night in the win over Niagara. They actually had 13 players get in the scoring column in that game as well. But maybe one more whistle here and a chance to pay tribute, if you're Kentucky, to Bobby Perry's career. Bradley.
And they're still fighting for the ball.
Feisty, leading to a Crawford three.
2-point basket by Jim Crawford.
No, I don't think that we're going to see any substitutions. Kentucky picking up full court, doing everything they can to hustle.
And Meeks on the reach-in.
How about this? Tubby Smith saying we're not going to be taking prisoners at all here. He is. He's got his team still pressing. And I don't think in the case of Meeks that he was trying to foul there. I think he was trying to steal the ball. I don't know why anybody would boo when people are hustling like Kentucky is.
Be a pretty good little tussle out west. Billy, we've talked about it a couple of times how that bracket has its first 4 seeds, but it had been, we were sitting in this very position last week at the Big Ten tournament on Selection Sunday, wondering if it would be UCLA as a 1 or would it be Kansas, and of course they're both out there, potentially going to meet in the regional final. They've got a sub coming in for Kentucky to bring in Porter. Comes in for Bradley.
Jim, I'll throw one out at you.
This might be it for Perry here, Billy.
Could be.
Morris.
In the last 4 years, we've had 16 teams in the Final Four. We've never had somebody get back. Isn't that amazing? You talk about Florida and UCLA still have a chance.
Yep.
There goes Perry out.
Perry closes out his career with quite a performance.
Tubby's going to give him a big shake and a hug. So we got a senior going out to play the fine game, and we've got a freshman going out. Tubby pats both of them.
Kansas's largest deficit of the whole weekend here is 2 points.
And Bill Self goes to the bench when he sees Tubby go to the bench. He waited that long, didn't he? Really did. 24 seconds.
No one was going to budge.
Nope.
Kleiman comes in. Morningstar joins him. Jeremy Case showed some game the other night, didn't he? Stewart comes in. And we got 2 Stewart brothers, the twins, both in the Sweet 16. His twin brother Roderick is the point guard for the USC Trojans.
It's a steal.
Almost. Kansas had a little 2-point deficit in the early going of this one. That's the biggest challenge or deficit, if you will, it faced in the first 2 rounds. Harris on the floor.
And a chance.
Soft shot there for
nice move.
Ramon Harris, freshman from Anchorage, Alaska, former high school player of the year back in his home state. It'll be an 88-76 final. Now 1-1, all-time in tournament action between these two. Jim Nance, Billy Packer saying so long from Chicago.
A 12-point victory for Kansas. They end the season for the Wildcats of Kentucky.